For those who don't know who I am, we homeschooled our own children all the way. They are 28 to 21. Our youngest is still busy at university doing engineering. He's in fourth year. The others are working in the fields that they studied in. And so we have 20 odd years of homeschooling under our belt. At the same time, we wrote a South African homeschool curriculum program for parents back in 2002. And our goal is not only to give you high quality educational material for your children, but is to actually support the parent, in particular the mother in general, who is homeschooling their children. And we want to offer parents the skills and the support and the encouragement that they need to do this successfully. So this morning I'm going to talk about surviving or thriving. One of the things that I am very blessed to do is do homeschool consultations with parents one-on-one, on Zoom or in person. And the majority of moms come and speak to me and they're overwhelmed, they're overwrought, they feel like they are continually chasing their tails. So I just want to drop this down a little bit. Am I going to mess it up? They're continually chasing their tails because they are trying to keep up with a curriculum that says what their children must do when. They have to do tests, they have to do assessments, and parents are constantly kept on the treadmill that you're trying to escape from when you take your children out of school. So today, what is the most important thing, or what's the first thing that I'd like to talk to you about, is one of the maladies that we have as homeschooling moms is that we keep on adding and adding and adding. We find a new curriculum, we want to try it, we put it on. There's free stuff on the internet, we want to add that in. And you continue to add and eventually get to the point where you and your children are totally overburdened. And it becomes no longer the joyous experience that you had hoped for with them. And you're asking yourself why. It's generally because you are doing too much, not enough. There is a difference. So the advice in that space would be for you to reduce what you are doing, to trim back on what it is that you have added in, so that you can, sorry, I'm just distracted from everybody walking in, so that you can focus on what is most important. Hence, anyone can educate a child. You can put children into schools, cottage schools, you can get tutors, but there can only be one parent, and that is you. Always put relationships first. Make sure that there is enough time in your day to hold up that as the most important thing that you are doing with your child. The 3 R's, reading, writing, maths, science, history, geography, all of those things, those can follow. But you will never get back the time that is needed, particularly in the young years of your children's lives, to shape their character, to teach them how to have a good work ethic, help them grow up and understand that the world that they're going to move into one day is going to be a tough space and they need to be able to stand firm. Those things are the more important thing in homeschooling, and building the relationship between you and them so that when they fall down, that they will come to mom and dad and say, help me stand back up again, and not turn to their peers and not turn to the world and not turn to social media to help them do those things. One of the other things is that parents worry too soon about high school. If you've got a child sitting here anywhere from about 8, 9, 10 years of age, the first thing that you're going to be thinking about is, how is my child going to get them a trick? You don't need to worry about that. If you continue to teach your children how to work hard, how to give the best, these things fall into place. If your children are going to be swamped with content-heavy curriculum, right from the word go, by the time you're wanting them to take over their education, which is around 16 years of age, they're going to be so burnt out that they're not going to be able to do it. So you need to actually do this in a counterintuitive, I'm sorted, thanks Bo, in a counterintuitive way, that you first build a character, you first develop in them a love for learning by using good literature, experiences, outings, relationships, apprenticeships, exposure to different ways of thinking, different environments. And then round about 16, a child who's been diligently trained will come and say to you, I think I want to, and you can fill in the blank. And at that stage, they will be choosing, one of a few avenues. One could be to start Cambridge because they want to go to university, and then you gear yourself up towards that. But remember, in your young years, you have taught them what it is to work hard, to give their best, to have a good work ethic, and it just naturally follows as they pick up a content-heavy course like Cambridge that they have got the character to withstand the rigors of that program. They might come to you and say, I want to go into the arts. So what are you going to do? You're probably going to continue with an eclectic style of home education, and then round about grade 12 move on to something like the GED. You've got other children that might come to you and from little have loved working with their hands, and they now want to be a carpenter or a thatcher, or they would like to go into mechanics or become an electrician. Let me tell you that those are the careers, or there is a gap in our marketplace, in our economy for people in those places, because everything is geared now towards computers and IT and that sort of thing. So you don't shout that down. You say, well, let's apprentice you. Let's see how we can find it out. Because what you want from 16 onwards is to become a facilitator of your children's lives and education. You do not want to be the one standing there with the whip, forcing a 16-year-old to try and get their work done. That happens when they're little. You teach them when they're little. High school can wait until high school comes. If you've homeschooled for a while, and perhaps you've used a program, an online program or a textbook-based program, and you're saying, this is not working, I want to give up. You need to return back to the reasons why you started and ask yourself, what was the purpose? Does your child have special needs? Was it because they were being bullied in school? Was it because you wanted to offer them a higher standard of education? There's a whole variety of reasons that we homeschool. A lot of us are Christian parents, and we choose to homeschool our children so that that can be an extension of our parenting. And if you are losing your vision, go back to the reason why you chose to homeschool in the first place, and revisit those, and go and check and see what is going on in the world outside your door, and see whether your children will actually fit back into that system, or whether you need to dig a little deeper, get a little bit more support, change your curriculum, but do what needs to be done so that you can do this for the long haul. And just as a caveat on that, homeschooling is hard. There are beautiful, wonderful experiences that you will have with your children, but it is hard, and it comes with it a cost. True homeschooling, I believe, is not sitting your child in front of a computer screen and just checking that they've done their assignments at the end of the day. True homeschooling is going to cost you something. And you need to count that cost, but also know that people have gone before you, and there is a large support network that can help you, whether it is on Facebook, on Instagram, in person, your local support group. It is there, all right? Another issue that often comes is that because you're now living in close confines with one another, in our home, when we were homeschooling, there were 36 relationships happening at any time, 6 times 6. Somebody can check my maths, I think I'm right. 36 relationships and conversations happening and that sort of thing. So it's intense, and I think that it's sometimes kind of like that crucible where you are being purified as a mother, as a parent, because we have two options, right? Our children are squabbling and they don't want to do the work, and you've got a long list of things that need to get done. And you need to stop and say, well, what is the most important thing here? The relationships first, right? So we want to train our children in the home for tough relationships outside of the home. So we change our perspective. It's no longer about the spilt milk. because we've got our long to-do list and the toddler knocks over the milk and it's this all fall down for everybody. No. We say we're going to teach the toddler how to clean up and how to be careful. We're going to get an older child to serve a younger child by helping them. We're going to exhibit to our children the patience that we need when accidents happen, right? That was the point with that slide, is that there are many spilt milk moments. Use those as times not to get frustrated, to feel like you need to give up, but use them for your own character and the character of your children. This goes back to one of the first slides as well. If your children are putting on their brakes, they are not interested in doing their schoolwork. Every single day is a complaining session, and you, at the end of it, you say to your hubby, I just can't do this anymore. It's too hard. They don't want to work. There's two questions you need to ask yourself. Is it a child problem, a them problem, or is it a me problem? If it is a child problem, is it only around the schoolwork time, or does it show up in everything? Is there a resistance every single time you ask them to do something? Then it is just showing you that your child has a weak character, and it's time for you to step up in that space and work on that in their lives. If it is a you problem, what do I mean by that? You're either expecting too much of your children, or you are presenting to them something that is too hard, too easy, or actually just irrelevant to where they are now. So for parents who are using CAPS-based curriculum, it's very hard for you to say, I'm putting this on hold so that I can deal with my child, because you've got a curriculum provider on the outside saying, where is the test, where is the assignment, where is that? We need to ask ourselves the question, is that program the right thing for your home and your family if your child's character cannot carry the workload? I don't know if that makes sense to you. But what you might want to do, and what we did do with one of our children, is that he actually took an 18-month sabbatical from homeschooling. It nearly killed me, but it was it was the right thing to do at the time. And he had decided he wanted to do Cambridge. He was 16 years of age, and it just was not the right fit. And within 3 months, we just knew that we were going to lose this child into a hole. So we said, you don't know what you actually want to do. Let's just stop and let's just see. And he started drawing in that time. He started a little small free-range meat business, spent a lot of time working out at the gym, and just got his head right. And that drawing became a lifelong passion, and he studied animation, and he is now a team leader at one of the largest animation houses, production houses in the country. And I believe that if we hadn't given him that breathing space to figure out who he was and what his future was going to be, if we had carried on pushing the curriculum at him and making him achieve these things, he certainly would not be the all-round strong young adult that he is today. So just check, is it a you problem? Is it a them problem? The other thing is that we often get so caught up in, even when we're choosing an eclectic home education, even when we're doing all these other things, we still get caught up in teaching the 3 R's. Can my child read? Can they write? Have they done this? Can they do their maths? And I wanted to just include these. We put this out on Instagram a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to include it today because I think it's one of the things that we overlook. It doesn't matter what curriculum you're using. Make sure that you read aloud from beautiful books every single day. Take a daily walk in nature, and if you possibly can, try and include one whole morning or afternoon in nature with your children where they can just experience it for themselves. They can lie on their back and see cloud animals, or see what birds are nesting in the tree, or what flowers are coming into bloom, and give them that space once a week at least. Include art studies. Even if the stuff is just left around on counters, let them have access to beautiful artworks. We have in this country some of the most amazing artists. Take them when you hear of an exhibition. Just drop everything and go and enjoy the exhibition together. You never know, if you don't sow these seeds in your children's lives, you never know what is going to take root. And that's the thing. If we make it all about the desk and the textbook and the assessments, you're limiting your children and their exposure to the world and something that might be their future career. Middle age, the curse of middle age, glasses on and glasses off. Other thing, play beautiful music in your home. When you sit down for breakfast in the morning, let the music play. And, in the car, put on make your own Spotify list or iTunes playlist and let your children be exposed to that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if they show an interest that they're 5 years old and they've got to go off to violin classes. But just expose them and see what takes root. And they will eventually say to you, Mom, I really would love to learn the guitar or the saxophone. Or, we had a girl in our circle who learned the trumpet. And, she just loved playing the trumpet. You never know. And read poetry daily to your children. And even if it's limericks, young boys love silly poetry. Limericks are those things that you can all sit and giggle over. But also choose poems that can stir a heart and bring an emotional response. You can just get any anthology out of the library or purchase ones online. And set aside one afternoon a week or one morning a week and have a really lovely poetry and tea time. Make something together, let your little girls make something, or your boys if they want to, create, and then sit down and enjoy some tea and poetry together. You don't have to assess it. You don't have to look at how many lines are in a stanza and what the rhyming scheme is. And, you don't worry about that. Just expose your children to these beautiful ideas. One of our sayings is freedom in learning and discipline in life. It is taken from John Holt. You can read some of his stuff. He was an educator, but he was very much into the unschooling movement, which spawned sort of the homeschooling, unschooling movement. And this is it's a form of his quote. If your children are doing chores every day, if they are helping in the home, if they are serving one another, serving you as parents, possibly serving in the community, and that would be the place where they need to learn the discipline. Freedom in learning refers to, not in my world, not the total unschooling situation, but it's giving them a say in what they would like to study. You can decide what your minimum is. I want my child to do 20 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of writing, and 20 minutes of maths a day in primary school. In high school, it might go up to about 40. As to the rest, what would you like to study? Are you interested in space? Would you like to do a short course in pastries? Would you give them that opportunity to express what it is that they would like to study? I'll let you know, this is just a secret in case you haven't worked it out. There is a never-ending knowledge. It's never going to stop. You will always be learning. So you're not going to be able to give your children every single bit of information that you would like to give them in the 12 years that they are in homeschooling with you. So give them the freedom to choose one thing every term, or if you're going to do unit studies, give them an opportunity to say, I really want to study horses of the world. And do those things. There's so many free unit studies, and then go back to your stuff for a bit. So freedom in learning and discipline in life. That's probably the magic mix to raising children who become strong adults, who have good work ethics, who are able to enter varsity or the workspace with confidence, as well as not kill the passion and the love for learning, because you are allowing them to understand that they can continue to learn for the rest of their lives. I think I've got 5 more minutes, and then we'll do a few questions. I'm going to cover this very quickly. It's quite controversial. In a world that is telling us all about self-love and self-care, I would like to challenge the thinking. I would like to say we do not choose to have children so that we can have me time. We choose to have children because for that short time in their lives, we are able to give to them the best that we possibly can. And that includes the best of our time. So when you are with your children, be 100% with your children. Do not be thinking about Facebook or the Instagram post that's coming up, or a discussion that's happening on a chat group, what's happening in somebody else's home, and are you good enough? You know, or how do you compare to that person down the street? Stop it. Make yourself fully present with the people that you are with. Give them the best of your time. My children are 28 to 21. I have a foster daughter of 19 as well, but the time goes so quickly. I look back at the years that we had and the delightful memories that we made, and I was with them 24/7, and I still feel like it wasn't enough. So really completely and totally immerse yourselves in your home and your children and your family, because one day when they are gone, you have those beautiful memories to remind them of and to remind yourself of. Okay, this is the last quote. It's natural to quarrel, to be selfish, to live a small-minded life. It is supernatural to love unconditionally, to serve others, and to live a life of vision and faith. That would be the message that I'd like to leave with you today. Are there any questions on any topic regarding homeschooling?